And hopefully I remember to talk about all of those things without going off on tangents. So one of the things I do when I present is I normally bring you food that's produced by me. I did not check until I was driving here to see what time I presented and found out it was 8:30. So there is pickles and beet pickles and spicy dilly wax beans in the back for all of you. Great at 8:30 a.m., I'm aware. I used to teach high school. High school kids would have just flocked for that. So you can just pretend you're a high school kid and go and get some pickles. Feel free to get up and get them anytime. We'll be talking about the labels and the product and those kinds of things as we go along. So a little background, most of you in the room know me, so you've probably heard me say this 100 times. I was an English teacher for 22 years. I taught high school English in Rolla, North Dakota. My grandparents, my husband's mother, my father, they were all gardeners, so it made total sense that I always had a garden. You just do what they do. That's what's supposed to happen. In about 8 years ago now, my two youngest boys, who were 10 and 12, or no, they were probably a little bit older than that, 11 and 13, decided that they really wanted to make some money to go to Las Vegas to see their grandparents for Christmas. Cam's mom and dad live in Vegas in the winter. They didn't know we were already going, so we were going to let them raise money to go on their trip because that makes sense to us. So they took a card table, and they took my kitchen bowls and all of our produce overage that we happen to have. So, you know, zucchini and green beans. You can never have too many zucchini and green beans in a garden. And went to town, and around the corner from this building, so this is my building now, and we'll get to that, but around the corner from this building is an empty lot. And this is right on Main Street. This is Main Street, Rolla. And so we set up with we already had a current farmer's market. The boys set up with their table and their few vegetables. They made $74. And they were so excited that they made that money. And I was so excited because the day was over and our farmer's market escapade was done. But it wasn't. So my daughter, who is my main partner in farmer's marketing, she said, $74? We could bring pickles and beet pickles and all that stuff you make. We could grow more. We could get bigger tables. We could do fancy stuff that other people aren't doing. We'll wash all of our vegetables so they're table clean. And then people will want to buy ours because, you know, they'll go home. And so the business plan began, right? Here we go. And so every year the garden has grown. We're at about an acre now, probably a little more. Don't ask what it'll be this year because they have a tendency to get crazy every spring and say, oh, now we need a couple more rows and a couple more rows and a couple more rows. And I try to stop them, and it never works. And they just keep going with what they're doing. So about that time, Michelson Tiny Plants was born. And that's what the label is on our, I'll go grab a jar here. There's cards back here too. You can grab a card that has our logo on it. But for 1 year, we just had black Michelson Tiny Plants and a carrot. I made that on my computer, and it was my logo, and I was very proud of it. And then I kind of got embarrassed by it. I wanted it to look really professional. So I actually hired a graphic designer to make our logo. And she also then made the Lena's Fresh Farmers Market logo at the same time so that we had both. Cost me about $350 a piece, but I've used it now for 6 years. And people know us by this logo. And people will bring back their empty jar with the label still on and say, this is you, right? And we go, yep, that's us. Okay, we need those pickles again. So that logo really makes a difference. It also makes a difference how professional it looks. So as far as best practice goes, people give this as gifts and feel like it's a professional jar of, I mean, it's just out of my kitchen, but they feel like it's a professional jar. If you just, you know, slap on a white label and hand write, some people have the most beautiful handwriting ever, but not at our house, then it has a little bit different feel if you're giving it as a gift. So we get lots of people that come to buy gift baskets. They create their own, you know, assortments. They give them away, and then those people come back and buy more, which is, you know, excellent that way. So after we started to grow, I continued to teach. And we got bigger, got a big table, got an 8-footer. And then we got another 8-footer. Well, first we got a canopy, we got a tent. We were real excited about the tent. Then we got another table and another tent. And then we got 2 tables that went down the sides, and we just kept lining it up. And our product line got bigger. So we started with pickles and beet pickles. Those were the 2 things that we always had at our house. I hate beet pickles. Does anybody else hate them? Do they taste like sweet dirt to you? I hate them, but my family, not Thee's family, not my immediate family, all of our older, my mom and dad and my uncles and aunts, they all loved them. It was my aunt's recipe. She let me have it. We started selling it to people. They're like, it tastes just like my grandma's. And I'm like, oh, good for you, because I don't want to eat them. So now we grow tons of beets for people who want to make beet pickles, and we make beet pickles. So we're at a product line of about 24 products now. At one point, we were at 40. But another thing about best practice, you can't sustain that. We're cottage food, so we're doing it in our house. We don't have a commercial kitchen. We do have a 200-quart pot. Does anybody else have a 200-quart pot? It's a 200-quart pot. I fit in it. They could cook me for dinner if they wanted to. We put it on our 3-season porch on a dedicated turkey burner, you know, the propane turkey burner. And I can make 200 jars of jam at a time, which is fantastic. It could make more, but you know, jam grows. Yeah, we've done too much in the pot, and it's quite the mess on a carpeted floor. Don't do that. So we had to shrink down the product. We also had to find that perfect balance. So our goal is year-round market. In 2018, we got the chance to buy this lot that we were on. We were just basically squatters. We never paid anybody to be there. We never even really asked permission. We just set up farmers market, which I thought was kind of rude, but we did it anyway. It was Rolla, North Dakota. Huh? We did mow the lawn, which I think is what made the owner so happy with us, because we made sure the lawn stayed mowed and he didn't get a call from the city. We had a chance to buy that and the building. And this building has been in Cam's family for, I don't know, 80 years before it left for a few years to the owner we bought it from. It was called Lena's, just Lena's. Lena is Cam's great aunt, and she had a little lunch counter, you know, the real greasy spoon, old school lunch counter, and then a convenience store in the front. And she did the hard candies in the barrels at Christmas and the Christmas trees, and you know, she did all those things. So when we got the building back, we went back to the Lena's name because it fits our community. And that's one of the things we need to talk about when we're building our food niche in our town is, what is your community? Boy, there's a lot of answers to that. If you're Fargo, maybe West Fargo is your community and not Fargo, you know, if you're in that, maybe Moorhead is, but you don't think Fargo is your community. When we started, Rolla was our community. We live here. This is Rolla. These are our customers. But then I noticed that 70% of my customers were coming from the rest of Rolette County. The Turtle Mountain Reservation is next door. You know, we have farmers who live outside of town. Well, now my community's bigger. My community is my whole county. But then I noticed that we had 2, 3, 4, 5 people driving from Devil's Lake every Saturday to come to market to get our perfectly cleaned vegetables and all of the things that we added on for products. So now my community is getting bigger, and I have to think about what that means. How do I make sure that I'm including all of the outlying communities that are coming to Rolla as community? And that has a lot of different ways, but it all comes down to you, the producer, the owner, and your relationship with people. Yesterday, we saw a whole thing about, you know, if you sit on the chair, if you were in, was everybody in with the bracelet lady? If you sit on the chair, don't ever sit on the, we sometimes sit on the chair if nobody's in the building. But we don't sit on the chair. And if somebody comes in, I get up. And I make sure that I greet everybody. And I make sure that I try to know everybody's name. And if it's somebody I've never seen before, I say, what are you doing in Rolla? I don't know you. And then they tell me their story. we're kind of bad about names. We name people by what they buy or what we know about them. So there's this guy from Can-Do that we love very much, and he once sold a boat to Cam's dad, and I don't know his last name. I feel so bad. But we call him Randy the Boat Guy, and we love Randy the Boat Guy. We love him. In fact, I was in Can-Do eating at their restaurant, and I left a 20 to buy Randy the Boat Guy his supper because I knew he was coming in. Like, I love the guy. I still don't know his last name. Do you know his last name? No, we don't know. We had, jalapeno guy, the guy who always bought all the jalapenos, and we had broccoli guy. And we eventually learned their first names, but we try to make sure that we ask them about what's going on. But what makes them part of our lives is social media. And social media can be super ugly. I understand. I go on social media and I want to block some people, and I want them to stop sending me some ads that I get, but social media creates relationships. Lori Martin and I have met each other, I don't know, maybe 3 times in our lives. We've actually met each other. She could probably tell you everything that's gone on in my life for the last 2 years because I put it all out there on social media. And I have gotten questions and concerns. What do you do about your kids? Do you ask them permission before you put them on there? No. They belong to me. They can do what I say. This is my son Ethan right here. He's been on lots of my social media. He's actually a marketing guru, so he understands it. He understands what we're doing. My younger sons are not as excited to be on social media, but when they're wearing their gas masks and slicing jalapenos and they're all sitting on the floor with 5-gallon buckets, and it makes a show that you've got to take a picture of, right? You've got to show people what you're doing. And that's what starts this community thing that makes you a business, but it makes you a person, so it makes you a different kind of business. You're this approachable, you guys can go, anybody that comes to farmers market can go to Walmart and buy everything that I sell, everything. What they can't get is conversation about what are the boys doing today, and I saw you made them slice jalapenos, and are you going snowmobiling this winter? Because I love it when you go snowmobiling. And I saw that the baby onions are starting. They want to have those conversations. They want to connect with people, and Walmart doesn't have that. I mean, you might know somebody that works at Walmart, but you're not getting that every time you walk in. And we work really hard on that community relationship basis. And that means the people in Devil's Lake, in fact, what I did for the people in Devil's Lake, as my community grew, is we decided to do, they decided, I didn't really want to do this because it's a lot of work, but they decided to go to a craft fair in Devil's Lake with our setup. We had to get a new cash box because we only do our own. We only do Rolla, North Dakota. We had a new cash box, and we had to separate all the stuff, and we had to haul it all to Devil's Lake, jars, boxes and boxes of jars. But then we put it out on social media as this competition. So I had one of my youngest sons and his girlfriend, and Cam had my other youngest son and his girlfriend, and we put it on that we were, competing to see if our Devil's Lake customers could outdo our Rolla customers. And all day long, people sent me messages. Who's winning? I was just in, I bought $50 worth of stuff. Rolla better be winning. Is Devil's Lake winning? And then the people from Devil's Lake are coming. They're like, well, I was at a meeting and they said that you were going to be here and we had to buy a bunch of stuff because Devil's Lake has to win. So we made it a community competition and kept people engaged. It wasn't just I'm there and they're here and they were trying to make more money, which, by the way, we made good money that day, but really good money. But it wasn't about that. It was about being present for those people. And I had a customer from Lakota who never makes it to Rolla, and she just gushed when she got there. She's like, I am so thankful that you came to Devil's Lake. I appreciate this so much. She bought a case of whatever it is she loves. I think it was beet pickles. Crazy people and their beet pickles. But that's what you have to really work on doing. Now, you also have to be and believe you are a business. So there's things that make you a business. Professional labels make you a business, how consistent you are. Farmers markets die really fast when you say we're going to be open every Wednesday and Saturday, that's when we're open, from July 4th to October 31st. And then somebody drives from Devil's Lake on a Saturday and you've decided that you don't really want to go to market and you're going to go to a wedding instead and you're not open, they're never coming back. They drive that far one time and you're not there, they're never coming back. And they're pissed. And they tell all their friends, I drove all the way to Rolla. We once had somebody drive to Rolla and they had a meltdown because we had run out of fresh bread. And I'm like, I'm sold out. And they're like, somebody told me you would have this bread. And we're like, all right. Who was it? Are they going to Devil's Lake soon? I'll make you a special batch. I'll send it to you. You'll be okay. But you have to have consistency. Consistency is super easy if you're Fargo, because there's 60 vendors and somebody's always there. Even if one person isn't there, somebody's always there. But if you're rural like we are, there's 4, maybe 5 of us, either outside or inside. And there's many days we're the only vendor. And it is my business. We own the market, so it makes sense that I make sure that I'm there. But you have to, if you're trying to set up a market, if you're getting a board for a market, and you're in a rural area with few vendors, you have to have your champion. You're one person that says, no matter what, I will give up my entire summer to be there every Wednesday and Saturday, no matter what, so that there's always someone there. My baker only comes on Saturdays. She drives from Candu. She only comes on Saturdays, but she's consistent. So they know, Saturday I can get all my baked goods from her. Wednesday I can get my vegetables because Danielle's always there. That's the thing that happens. The other thing I did right away, I'm the Job Development Authority Director, so I'm the one that made the comment to tell John, to tell you, to contact your Economic Development Director, JDA, EDC, same thing, a little bit different, but same thing. My job, my second job next to this, because I quit teaching. Did I mention that? I quit teaching about 5 years ago to do this, and then I got sucked into another job, because people don't let you quit things. They're like, you're not teaching? You know what you should be? You should be an economic development director. And I'm like, you know what? I'm an English teacher. I don't even know what you're saying. I don't even know what that job is. Oh, it's okay. You've got lots of energy. You'll be great. So here we are. So my job in Rolla is to promote business and livability and growth and people moving to town. That's my job. This farmers market is livability times 5. If somebody's thinking about moving to your town from, well, we just had somebody move from LA. She lived her entire life in Los Angeles. She saw me on Facebook. She called me and said, I think I want to live in your town. I got to get out of California. I think I want to live in Rolla. And I'm like, you know it's cold here, right? Like, and she said, can I get a white car? Will it disappear in the snow? Will people not see me? And I'm like, you can get a white car. You'll be okay. But when she came, the first thing when we were talking about we had a farmer's market, she was so thankful she was going to be able to get fresh vegetables, even if it was just from July to October, because she's used to that in California. And it's livability. It wasn't about a business being there. It was about camaraderie. So she comes every market. She's my friend now. I mean, what do you do when somebody moves to town because you think it's a good idea? You got to be friends. She comes to every market. She talks to everybody that comes through. She's very excited about that community thing, and it draws people in. And the governor talks about livability as one of the pillars of, growth in whether you like the governor or not. He does have the growth model, and we agree with it. Livability is very important, and this is livability. But we took one step farther, and we joined the chamber. You probably all have a chamber of commerce. You can join the chamber of commerce if you're a business. If you're a business and you are in town, you can join the chamber. And then your chamber will have activities that you can participate in. So on December 1st of this year, actually we have a thing called Pickle Palooza, which had to be canceled a couple of times because of COVID, but we're gonna have Pickle Palooza again. And it's a pickle making competition, and we host it in here, and we have pickleball, at the football game on that night, the kids do a pickle toss, and we jumped on to homecoming, and 8th graders get to be the Duke and Duchess of Dill and ride down behind the king and queen and we started that, we house that, and we're part of the chamber activity group. On December 1st, they called me and said, can you make a bunch of cookie blanks and tubes of frosting? Because on December 1st, we're going to have a kickoff to the Christmas season. And so I'm on the edge of what we call Main Street proper. So Main Street proper goes down. This is me at the end. All the business along had an activity. One, you could make a cookie. One, you could get a story read to you. One, you could write a letter to Santa. One, you could get hot chocolate. I think there was 5. And I said, how many cookies do you think we need? Rolla's 1,400 people. Keep this in mind. And they're like, I don't know, 200? And I'm like, 200 kids are going to, they only had a half an hour to do 5 things because then there was a movie at the theater. You know, then they all go to the movie with their canned good. Like, there's no way there's going to be 200 kids. So I make 200 cookies and make all these piping bags of buttercream frosting. And we all line up in the store, and they start coming in, and they start coming in, and it's packed, and there's frosting everywhere, and people can't sit down, and they're squeezing frosting in their mouths. You have to take that away from them. You're chasing them all around. We finally we actually had leftover Christmas cookies in the freezer because we do a box of fancy Christmas, or not Christmas, the holiday before, whatever the holiday before was. And we had to start pulling them out and giving them to kids to frost over top of because we ran out of the blanks. So we're like, here's some frozen cookies from the freezer. And they're like, oh, cool. We had the best time ever. But it solidifies that my business is part of all of the other businesses. Whether I'm only open a couple of days a week or in the winter a couple of days a month, we're an important business in town. And when the kids start seeing that, they start seeing farmers market as a real business. And yesterday I said the only way we get out of this gig is if kids take this over as real business. I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. I got one knee they're always yelling at me because my knee pops out of joint when I'm in the garden, and then I got to straighten it out and pop it back into joint. And I'm going to be 50 this month, which I know for some of you, you think that's young, I get it, but it's not as young as it could be. And we need people that take this over, so we need to be a farmer's market, and we need to be a business, and you're not all going to be able to buy a store, but think about it. Do you have a storefront in your town that's unutilized? Grafton right now is turning one of their empty buildings into this huge food hub, and they're going to have a commercial kitchen, and they're going to do all of these fancy things. If you've never met Dawn Mant from Grafton, she is the most innovative, creative, wonderful woman that I know, and she's working really hard on a food scene in Grafton that will include a place for people to produce and sell and ship, which is fantastic. Is there a building somewhere in your town, somewhere close by to where you are, that you can use in the winter? You'll have to pay the heat, you'll have to pay the lights, that's usually how it goes, but it's definitely worthwhile. Our first market day was $74. Our best market day now is $5,000. So we went from 74 to 5,000. We often have weeks in the regular summer that we break 4,000 a week on a regular basis now. I used to think, like the first time we made $700 in one market, I was like, wow. And then it got bigger and bigger. And you saw that yesterday with the bracelet lady, right? You don't know you can break that ceiling, and you don't know, and then you get more creative. And that creativity is something you have to think about when you're building this business plan. What is your town missing? We don't have a bakery. And my baker only comes in the summer on Saturdays. So we had to figure out, how do we fill that gap? What do people want? So every market day I get up at 3 a.m. and I make 16 loaves of sourdough bread, 8 plain, 8 full of cinnamon swirl. And if you're from Bismarck, yes, I copied Bread Poets in their cinnamon swirl bread loaf thing, but mine's sourdough, which is different, so I'm more creative. We do that. We couldn't get pizza crust, pre-made pizza crust, so I make pre-made pizza crust in a pair. Big sourdough pretzels. Every market day we have big sourdough pretzels. And once vegetables start to slow, because if you're a vegetable producer, there's a day when you think you're going to die if you have to pick one more thing. Like I just don't. I stand there and I look at it and by the way, my Facebook never says that, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But you stand there and you look at it and you're like, or you start picking the row and then you look up and you're like, I have not moved. What happened here? When vegetables start to taper off for the year, we start to fill the gaps. So we make fresh pies for Thanksgiving, and we have a huge pie sale for Thanksgiving. We do specialty Christmas cookies at Christmas, and this year we went from the decorated fancy ones, like Grinches and Santas and that kind of stuff, to a mix of all of the fancy cookies that you might like, Russian tea cakes and, all those. I can't even think of the names of all of them. We did peanut brittle in the box, and we did all kinds of stuff. We have Cupcake Day. And in fact, Cupcake Saturday is coming next Saturday. We'll have 5 flavors of cupcakes, and people will flood in because you can't get fancy cupcakes anywhere near Rolla. We do frozen soups, and that goes with the bread. We do sourdough crisps and croutons that go with the frozen soup, and the frozen soup's all made from our vegetables, so we make sure it's all our own product. We had cheesecake by the slice day. It's like, this is genius. So I bought these little containers, the little pie containers, fancy little pie containers, and then I sliced a bunch of cheesecakes. That's dumb. You have to get the knife wet. It has to be it was terrible. But I did 5 cheesecakes, which is 60 slices. We sold them for $5 a slice, because I always like to aim high on the price, because then I believe that I won't have to make as many. Just aim a little high. Get there, we got all 60, we got them all by flavor. Everything's all lined up. 32 minutes, every slice of cheesecake was gone. Oh, no. So then my family's like, you're going to make 200 cheesecakes. And I'm like, no, I am not. But we got smart, and we upgraded, because those weird little clamshell things, they don't often hold together, and they pop open. Ugh. We got these little containers now that you bake in. So you put in the crust, and you bake them, and then you put in the cheesecake, and you bake them, and then you put whatever topping and snap the lid on top. Oh, it's fantastic. And there's actually a little bit more cheesecake in one of those than a slice. And they stack. And you can freeze them in the big freezer. So, you got to get smart, too. You got to figure out how to get smarter, because there's lots of things that we do that the slicing of jalapenos with the mandolins and the gas, we got to figure that out, because that's a ridiculous gig. But we fill those gaps. You can't get cheesecake in Rolla. You can't get a fresh pie in Rolla. By going to a store. You can call your neighbor and get one, but you know what I mean? You fill those gaps. And if you have a bakery, then you probably don't have a bread gap, but you probably have another gap that you can fill. And if you're good at something, try it out. Make sure that if you're doing it cottage food-wise, we're cottage food producers. We don't have a commercial kitchen yet. It's next. Our business plan grows. It's another thing to think about. Make sure that you're growing all the time. We're cottage food producers, so we know the law. We know we can't put meat in our products. We know our cheesecake has to be frozen. We know all the rules that go along with being a cottage food producer, and we follow them. But we also know that if we want to change that, if we want to ship, if we want to do whatever we want to do, we have to grow. So we've actually talked about taking this building down and making a building that covers both lots, and having glass doors that open, so it's an indoor-outdoor feel. COVID put an interesting twist on that, because the price of lumber is astronomical right now. And I don't want to be the girl that paid 3 times as much for her building because of a pandemic. I'll wait it out a little bit. It's very, very important to see yourself as a business, see growth. Where do you want to do more? Every year I say, we can't do any more. I'm the naysayer. We can't do any more. There's no way. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown and die if we do any more. And every year they're like, we can do more. We did 350 jars of pickles in one day last year. After market. Market closes at 1. We all went home, made 350 jars of dill pickles in one fair swoop. Now everybody has to participate. One person can't do that. So you have to make sure of that. So let's switch over to social media just for a little bit. We talked about it some yesterday, but I think there's a couple of rules that are super, super important that I believe wholeheartedly. It's funny when I'm here laughing and saying I want to die when I'm picking green beans. And it's even funny if I put a picture of myself and I say that I'm going to die if I have to pick one more green bean and I'm smiling. But my life sucks and I hate this and it hailed on my whatever, and it all goes to hell. Yep, those suck. And you can tell your family, and you can tell your friends, and you can tell, but the people who buy from you don't want to know that. They want you to believe that you love everything, and everything is good and fine and well and wonderful in the world, because they believe in you, and they want to feel that. And so it's fine to be sarcastic and funny. It's not okay to whine. In fact, if I see whining, I'm like, oh, for crying out loud, everybody feels like that. Stop whining. I'm also a hard ass, so you got to, keep that in mind. The other thing, political. Boy, keep your political opinions off of there. I'll tell you right now, we're standing here. I'm a conservative. Do I believe what all conservatives believe? No. Can I make a list of things I believe and put it on social media? Yes. But 70% of the people that I service are liberals. I don't care. I don't. This is about business and it's about community, and you leave that out of, just leave it out. And some people will say, and I've seen arguments about this, and you can argue with me about it after we're done if you want, but they say, I don't ever put it on my business page, but I do put it on my personal page. Do you know what people who go to your business page do? They go to your personal page to see what else you're doing. So you've got to be super careful. Don't alienate people. Make sure that, you're a little ray of sunshine in the world. People want a little ray of sunshine in your world. My favorite people are the people that put pictures of their kids doing funny stuff. I love funny kids. I love food pictures because I'm a foodie, so I want to see what you're cooking. I even like it when you fail and you show me your big flat cookie that, the cookie was spread way too big, and I'm like, oh, been there. I like all of those things. I like funny, I like entertaining, and I like little rays of sunshine in my world. So, yeah, last year was a drought. And we ran our drip lines. We had to run our drip lines before we planted. We'd never had to do that before. We had to run them for 3 days. Then we had to go back and plant. Then we had to start them right back up just so things would germinate. And that sucked because water's expensive. We use rural water, so we're paying for every drop, and it's expensive. But none of my customers wanted to hear that. They just wanted to hear, are the baby plants up? Can I come see them? Can I come to the garden? And that leads to the next thing. Share your lives with people. You might be very private and introverts. You can tell I'm an extrovert. There's no way around that. That's what I am. But even if you're an introvert, share your life. If somebody wants to come and see your garden, invite them. We've got a running joke. People always want to help us. Can we come help you for a day? Of course you can. How long do you want to work with us? I want to do whatever you do. So we work them all day long, and they never come back, ever. We have a joke. We still don't have anybody who's ever come back. The only one that came back was my son's girlfriend, but she's stuck with him now, so she doesn't have a choice. The rest of us, this one, he comes back to help. He lives in Fargo. Best bartender on earth. If you're ever at the Jasper Hotel, ask for Ethan. You'll get the best drinks on earth. He's fantastic at everything he does, marketing, everything. He came home during COVID to live with us because he was working remotely, so he could work from anywhere. How many days till you thought, I got to get out of here? A few.
Then Bobby comes back too, but Rachel makes her.
Yeah, my husband's mom, she's afraid of snakes, deathly afraid of snakes, so she won't go out in our garden. But she does wash every cucumber we pick. And during heavy cucumber season, we are picking 600 pounds every 3 days. We haul them into the house and we wash them and sort them. So if you're a pickle maker, you can call me and request a size. I want the babies. I want small. I want the ones you split in half. I want ones that I can slice. And you get a 15-pound bag of whatever you requested because we sort them all. We have to sort them anyway because we're going to put them in jars the next day. So we might as well sort them then. You know, I don't want to bring home a bucket from market and then have to sort it after that. So we sort them and bag them and get them ready to go. That's our biggest deal, is that. All right, what do I have for time? Because I could probably talk for 4 hours, so I got to keep track of myself. Okay, so we can stop there. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything I didn't cover that you were hoping I would cover? Because I got lots to say about everything. Yeah.
I do have one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Main Street also doubles as North Dakota Highway 5, right?
Yep.
So my question then is, do you get drive-by traffic in Lenas?
We have a super old sandwich board that says farmer's market. I don't even know how old that thing is. We inherited it from all the farmer's markets before us. And we get people that say, I just saw that sign. When we're outside, we sell 10 times more than when we're inside. Because if they're driving down Highway 5 and they see our tents, we take snap and we have a square. The square is number one all the time because if somebody is driving down the highway and zooms in, they probably don't have cash on them, but they have their debit card. Snap, on the other hand, creates more community. And when we're talking about being part of business, community is 100% important. And when we first started Snap, we noticed that people that used to just walk by, heads down, walk by our, got a dog, walk by, even if I knew them, you know, sometimes this. Now they know we take Snap. Now they're buying a couple of things with their Snap card, and they're chatting, and they're part of the community, and they might just stop to chat each time, but nobody walks by head down because they don't believe they don't fit in with what we are. We created a whole different community in our town. All right, other questions? John.
So here I was thinking, I was expanding, what's your next, what's your growth model?
Growth model next is the building. We're going to go to commercial kitchen and we're going to go to shipping. And when we go to commercial kitchen and shipping, we're probably going to have to reduce product. And we'll reduce product by least sold, you know, what sells the least. Pickles will stay, dilly wax beans will stay, all of those things will, you know, those big ones will stay, but some of them will drop off. Probably some of the jellies will drop off. But our,
going to include a restaurant with the commercial kitchen.
yeah, that just happened just now. So welcome to our changing business plan.
You know about
No,
it.
yeah, we're actually,
What's your, you know,
we're going to call our business, our restaurant, the Lunch Line, kind of like the Soup Nazi from Seinfeld, if you're old enough to know who Seinfeld is. And every day, 3 days, 4 days a week, I will make lunch. You get one option. It's a lunch line like school. You know, today is lasagna. Everybody come by and eat. And so, yeah, the lunch line is going to be our gig. Soup and sandwiches, that kind of thing. My daughter wants a steakhouse, so who knows. By the next time I'm here, we'll have some other plan in place. But my oldest daughter, who's my partner, she's an attorney now in Rolla. She and her husband moved back, and she's an attorney, and her law practice is blowing up. She has so many customers. So I'm going to struggle this year to have enough time and, you know, work because she's very busy. When we do the building will include her law office. My second oldest son has a girlfriend who is in cosmetology school in Fargo, and she plans to come back and open a hairdresser, you know. And so we hope to have her housed in there. We'll become like a little mini mall of funness. You know, you can get your vegetables, you can have lunch, you can go get your hair done, you can, I don't know, have a will made while you're there. I don't know how it looks. But the goal is for us to have glass garage doors so they open and we're still an outdoor feel. But nothing will make me happier than not having to haul everything out of the building. The building made it great because we didn't have to haul it from the farm, which my farm's only a mile away, but you still have to put it in the car and take it out of the car. So that made that better, but we still have to bring everything out on rolly carts and set up the tents. So if it's just to open the garage doors when we start, that'll be fantastic. And hopefully people will still see us enough. We've also talked about moving the whole thing to our farm a mile away. My house is crazy. They don't ever stop, ever. He and my daughter are terrible. They drive me crazy. Yeah, I keep saying things like, you should have a baby and then I'll be the babysitter and then I won't have to do this anymore. And she's like, you'll have to figure it out. They make those things, they strap the baby to you. Just think how strong your back will be. I'm like, I can't get out of it. So, but I do love it. If you grab a card, you can just be my friend on Facebook. I do put a logarithm-wise, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. You get a lot more traffic on your personal page than your business page. So I put stuff up, on my business page now and then, but what I'm doing day to day goes on my personal page, and that spreads way faster. Facebook likes to bury business pages. And if you say anything like this is for sale or will be open this day, and you haven't paid them for an ad, they'll bury you. But you can, you can get creative with that. You put it on your other page. I'll be in town tomorrow. Come see me. People know when market is. Or they'll ask you 1,000 times. Does anybody else do that? You put when you're going to be open, and then under that they ask, what time does market open? You got to read, people. Holy smokes. And then on your personal page too, like everybody that's on there. I mean, if when you're going through your feed, hit like. If something makes you go wow, type wow, because the more you engage with those people, the more they see your stuff. And so it's a fed deal. And is it hard to make sure, I've been asked this a lot of times, how do you make sure you're always putting up posts? This morning I came down, I set that up, I took a picture of myself with the jars, and I said, when you find out that you're going to be here at 8:30 and you're supposed to feed people and you bring them pickles, and I post, and then people start commenting on it. It's really fast. Just have your phone in your hand, put it at the top of your mind, or take pictures while you're in the garden, and then when you're sitting down at the end of the night, if you do that, sometimes we don't do that, but if you sit down at the end of the night, make a post about the day, all the pictures will be there. They get real annoyed about pictures.
In the beginning, it will anger everyone around you if someone's taking pictures and not doing their work. We were very upset, but now it's just how it has to be.
All right, anything else? Yeah.
For some of the community things that you do, like the Picklepalooza and the Christmas event, do you guys charge for some of the stations or the activities, or is it all a free community event?
So Chamber pays for the event. So if I wanted to, they would pay me for the cookies and the frosting, just a flat fee that I asked for. We donate that back. And that's a really good question because it reminds me that the other thing that you can do is make sure if you have overage of stuff, donate it. You can sell it. If you can sell it, sell it. But if you have overage and you can't get rid of it, do not throw it away, donate it. And if you take it to your, senior center and drop it off, go back and see them when they're eating, because old people are some of your best farmers market customers, because there are people, the only reason they're not still growing their own stuff is because their knees have actually gone to hell. And they want to come. The other thing we do is we go up to the assisted living and we see what people need. Oh, can you bring me a jar of strawberry rhubarb jam? I sure can. And then you get a little order together and you go back up there and you visit with people, and they love that. They love it as much as the jam. And I know it all takes time, but if you can just feed it in a little bit here and there to what you're doing, it creates a community that builds a business. You don't go from 74 to 5,000 by sitting with your head down on a chair. You have to be engaging all the time with people. And I love it. Extrovert. I love it. They don't love it so much, but they still do it. They have a real mean thing they say, because it's not true, but they say, I can sell dog shit in a jar. That's mean, because it's not dog shit. What the hell? I'm selling canned goods. Don't say that to people. Yeah.
Not good.
But the point of the matter is, believe in what you do and sell it like there's no tomorrow. Tell them what you did. Tell them how you do it. You don't have to push it on them, but people want to know. Nobody's going to tell them what's in a bag of Cheetos or a can of Red Bull, but they can come to market and you can tell them absolutely every step you did. I have people who used to be afraid of GMOs. They don't want anything that's GMO, and you might not either, but they come to market and our corn, our sweet corn, is now genetically modified. It does not allow corn borers. It resists the corn borer. And my customers are like, you mean there's not going to be any worms in this corn? No worms. Yeah, I don't care. I want it now. Or we're not organic. We have a lot of organic practices, but the one thing we do when our radishes come up, they get a spritz of pesticide, or the flea beetles from his big farm will eat them down to nothing. Okay. And so I tell people that. This is what we do. We spritz them once when they first come up. And if people know what you do and can make a choice, they usually understand. They believe, flood it with chemicals. We don't do that. Very careful. All right, I've been told I'm done, so I gotta go. Nice meeting you all. And eat the pickles, except for John Schneider's 2 jars. Don't eat those.
Okay, thank you so much, Danielle. That was a great presentation. We are going to take a quick 10-minute break here, and then we'll come back and we'll do final
Hi.
Q&A.